is interpersonal. So interpersonal means interaction between two people. In another way we call dyadic relationship. Relationship. So there will be conflicts in all kind of psychological process. So when it comes to interpersonal relationship, there will be a lot of conflicts happens because it's happening within humans. Humans are highly complicated, complex animals, or social animals interact each other. So in the context of social psychology, we define interpersonal conflicts as disagreements, disputes, or clashes. Okay. Disagreements, disputes, or clashes that occur between two or more individuals. Basically, so there should be at least two individuals. If the conflict is happening within one individual, we will call it intrapersonal conflict. So this is interpersonal conflict. So disagreements, disputes, or clashes that occur between two or more individuals. That is what we call interpersonal conflict. So these conflicts can arise due to differences in opinions, values, needs, or goals. Or it can happen because of misunderstandings or uh, miscommunication or communication breakdown. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So interpersonal conflicts can happen because of the differences or contradictions between an opinion or values, needs, or goals between two people, or some kind of misunderstandings or some kind of miscommunications, communication breakdowns. A lot of factors are there which lead to interpersonal conflict. But in the context of psychology or in the context of social psychology, we identify and understand uh, interpersonal conflict as a natural process. We don't see it as a negative process, or we don't see it as an unhealthy process. Conflict is essential. Conflict is part of the law of nature, but it can't be stay for a long time. If it exists, if the conflict exists for a long time in the nature or in the reality, then it can bring chaos to the whole system. So there will be conflict definitely. We can't avoid it. It's inevitable. The conflicts are inevitable. But what we can do is we can do conflict management, or we call it conflict resolutions. Okay. So there are a lot of conflict resolutions. So in interpersonal conflicts, basically, it have both positive and negative effects. We are looking into interpersonal conflict. It's both healthy and unhealthy. It functions in both ways. That's the most interesting part. There are very few people. There are very few people who take those conflicts either as uh, either as either as a healthy process, unhealthy process, because it is conflict as a process. But some people take it in a with different kind of interpretations or attitude or something, then it can lead to unhealthy consequences. So why we are saying it have both healthy and unhealthy consequences or effects, because while the process of conflicts happens, it can produce frustration, tension, stress, anxiety, all kind of unhealthy emotional experiences. So conflict as a process by experience, it's not good. It's not, we can say it's not good, but it won't feel good actually. You can't say it is good or bad, but it don't feel good. We feel uneasiness, we feel uncomfortable in our physical body or in our emotional aspect, thought aspects or behavioral aspects. But the healthy part or the positive aspects is also provide an opportunity to grow, learning, and problem solving. So that's the most interesting part. That's why we can't say you should avoid conflict. No, don't. Its conflicts are natural process. It happens within two people or more than two people because of the communication. Communication can happen in any way that we have discussed already in the previous classes. So conflict is essential because those are puzzles basically. We can say it as conflicts or problems as puzzles or crises. So it's like we have to identify what it is, and we will disintegrate it and study, understand, and then we will come up with some alternative to find a smooth functioning. So that is what we call like effective management of interpersonal conflict. It's a very it's very time consuming, very energy consuming process basically. The management of interpersonal conflicts, because it's two people, it's two world, it's two like it's like you're dealing with two universe. A lot of things are there. Their personal family backgrounds, their personal experiences, their social experiences, a lot of things, everything they go through, they went through from their childhood till the moment they are in the conflict, have influence on the conflict. So it's a big area. It's like a Pandora box that we are opening. So how we will be able to manage them? So before all those things, we will start with what are the types and what are the causes of interpersonal conflicts in detail. Okay. So in if we look, if you can take a scenario for interpersonal conflicts, not from your personal life, don't. From an example, from an objective perspective, any kind of an example, any kind of scenario from your own, from your personal life, but not your experience. You you are the observer of that experience. Okay. So these conflicts, we we can see people having conflicts. I'm not talking about quarreling or fighting. Okay, don't go to the extreme scenario. It's basically conflict. We can start with the basic misunderstanding. Okay, a kind of a kind of uh, a friendly kind of thing, but they don't talk each other. They are not talking to each other for some time because some conflict is happening because of some miscommunication. So that conflict can happen, or it happened because of multiple factors. That's the one reason we won't be able to, or we don't have any authority to blame anyone, any of the person, because the factors of the causes that lead to that conflict, interpersonal conflicts, the major primary thing is miscommunication. So miscommunication, that we have discussed the concept of communication and how communication, and I think I have shared some materials also there, how communication is happening. And communication is so not some communication is not a process like talking. Like talking is part of communication. So communication is a big process that we are sending a message to someone, and we have to make sure that the person received it. If we want to, if we want to understand that person, or the person, like we have to make sure that person should get the message and understand what we are saying. then we have to make sure that the person got the message and they understood. So that is the crucial part of communication. So we may send the message, but we may not make sure, or we may not take the effort to know that whether they got the proper information. So there is this miscommunication happens. So miscommunication is primarily in primary level or in the basic level. Miscommunication is uh, the basic problem with uh, uh, interpersonal conflict. Okay. And another important factor is differences in perceptions and expectations. Okay. So these differences in perceptions and expectations. So perception and expectations are two psychological processes, big psychological processes. I hope that you have gone to what perception and what expectation is. So in the context of interpersonal conflict, it will become a social perception and social expectation. So differences in perception, self-perception, social perception, and expectation, self-expectation, and social expectation. So the conflicts can arise when individuals have different expectations or perceptions about a situation or relationship. So it's not saying that you are not supposed to have any perceptions or expectations. Obviously, we are humans, so humans definitely will have their own perceptions and interpretations and expectations. The problem here is, again, differences is not the problem. Again, it's again these differences are not communicated actually. Those people who are engaged in a relationship was not aware about those differences among themselves. So that was the problem. So differences is not the problem. Believing in those differences is not the problem. The problem was, even sometime, believing is also a problem. So in the basic level, we can say it was not communicated. Or even if it is communicated, then if it is communicated, like I have a different perception and expectations about a particular thing or a person or our relationship, whatever, and my partner, the other person, also have a different kind of expectation and whatever they have. So our priority is the healthy stability of our relationship. Okay. So our priority is our stability of our healthy relationship. That is the priority, not our personal needs or personal gains. If 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 one's personal need and personal gain is important, then leave the relationship. Well, that person should leave the relationship. Or if the priority is about keeping that relationship strong, then it should be communicated. And again, there is another problem. Uh, it's only for the concern or the sake of the relationship, not for example, if I'm taking my example, me and my partner. So uh, whatever things that I took to not hurt or to not make my partner uncomfortable, because of I am having different perceptions and acceptance. Okay. But sometimes it can happen accidentally because we are humans, so it can happen sometimes. Actually, I'm not going through your textbook. Okay, I'm actually going through your syllabus. So it would be better you listen to this than reading the book when I'm taking class, because uh, but the materials that you're having is not uh, it's like the it's different actually. Okay. Yeah. So this the perceptions and expectations. So we will be aware about to not to harm our partner. So not to harm our partner because we don't want to harm our relationship. So it is not the sake of our partner. It's not the sake of ourselves. The sake of the relationship. If the decision go for the sake of other person or oneself, then it will become a toxic relationship. So it should be always go for the sake of relationship. And everything again, if it is the sake of relationship, we also have to look into the facts that the people who are in that relationship are getting freedom. They have a personal choice. They have a rights and everything. There is no domination, nothing. So differences in perception and expectation is another cause of interpersonal conflict. And the another most important, most important factor of interpersonal conflict is power imbalance. So how the power between two people or group is exchanged, that that definitely determine the conflict, the possibility of a conflict between two people. Because if it is between two people, if one person is dominating another one, then for a time being, the other person may behave submissive because they don't want to hurt the other person because they love the relationship. But again, it is not to the love to the relationship. It's a toxic thought. But if the submissive person, after a point, there is a saturation point for every human being. So after a point, they may explode. So there will be a disruption in the power. The dominant person and submissive person is not there anymore. When the submissive person explode after the saturation point. So the power imbalance will lead to conflicts. And another important factor is culture or value differences. So that is something very much related to one's own upbringing, basically, cultural or value differences. So every individual people who meet each other, okay, whether it can for friendship or it can be for marriage or relationship or for a job or for anything, for any purpose. So those two people are came from two kind of family backgrounds, So they have a completely different cultures, beliefs, value system, religious belief, a lot. So these things should be understood by each other and should go balanced, a kind of. And the another point, another factor or another cause for conflict can be said as scarce of resources. And conflicts can arise when there is a limited supply of resources. So we can see majority in like in our society, particularly it comes to in the context of Indian society also. Scarce of resources makes a lot of problem in marriage conflict that we can be the society say like dowry thing. Some people romanticize that, but it's a problematic thing. That's why government itself banned it through an act. So it's like if it's like unnecessary power imbalance comes there, and that's a kind of a source. So it brings an expectation of one part of people that the marriage will bring resource to their family. So if it is get limited, then it is a major factor for conflict in interpersonal relationship that we can see a lot of many women, uh, many young women committing suicide because of this family issues, and the whole reason will go to dowry. So that's the one reason. That it's all connected with all other factors, and then the the conflicts we are saying like what are the conflicts can happen previously we discussed like the causes, factors that can lead to interpersonal conflicts. So this is like uh, kind of types of interpersonal conflicts. That's our causes of interpersonal conflict, you can say. Types of interpersonal conflicts. So we can keep it into uh, this categorization of causes of interpersonal conflict. We can keep it like personality conflicts, relationship conflicts. So personality conflicts like intrapersonal conflicts or conflicts within one person, kind of, and then relationship conflicts that we have discussing, and there is value conflicts, that the differences between values and ideologies, and there can be conflicts based on goals and resource conflicts that we have discussed already. So
Sir,
yeah,
sir,
yeah,
excuse me, sir. Sir, can I ask a question, sir?
yeah, sure.
Sir, what about intra conflicts? Means conflicts in the own mind of
Yeah,
the own
yeah.
this person.
So
Means intra conflict.
intrapersonal conflicts, yeah, I got it.
You are
So
talking about uh,
we
you
are
what
talking
we
about
are talking about
interpersonal,
all
yeah,
or interpersonals, but
yeah,
what
interpersonal
about the
conflict
intrapersonal? Means the conflict inside? Is it
inside
is
one
it a
person,
kind of
yeah.
is it a kind of diseased state, or
No,
it's
it's
kind
not.
of a
No, it's
normal
not a
state?
disease state. It's not. That's what I said in the beginning. Conflict is it's a
Because if
natural
it
process.
increases its just for a minute, if the internal intra conflict increases in the
Mhm.
intensity
Mhm.
to a pathological level,
Mhm.
is it normal then? That I sir, please
Yes,
throw some light
yes,
on
yes,
this, sir, please.
yes.
Thank you, sir, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So, what was asking about intrapersonal. So, intrapersonal conflict is actually it's not the part of social psychology. That's why I was not discussing it, and it's part of theories of personality. So, if if you take the theories of personality or the concept of personality, how personality is developing and how personality is constituted and what are the factors and all those things that create personality, the concept of personality that we study in theories of personality. So, if you take any theories, you can go to psychodynamic theories, which constitute psychoanalysis, individual theory, analytical psychology, ego psychology, or if you're going to behaviorism, or if you're going to humanistic approach of personality, any school, if you go to any school, you can see that there is a crisis. Okay, there is a crisis. For example, if you are taking Freudian theory of personality, that I hope you guys have a basic idea of Freudian theory of personality. We call psychoanalytical theory of personality. So there is this basic idea of ego and superego, which it is and innate aspects of personality, which work with the pleasure principle. And then there is a concept called ego, which works on the concept of rationality or reality principle. And then there is another compartment or section called superego. And superego is basically working on moral concepts, morality, ethics, which is based on social norms and cultural norms. So there is these three things. So it is basically animal thing. Basically, for it, there is only one condition: no pain, only pleasure. If there is pain, they will do something. They need pleasure all the time. So gratification is the thing of id, but ego is about reality. It will check reality. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? It will check the reality. And superego comes with what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do. There comes the conscience, our conscience and our rules and regulations and morals and values and ethics and everything. So these three things are always in a constant conflict that Freud called intrapsychic conflict. And sorry, because of this intrapsychic conflicts, this there's a psychic energy in psychoanalysis we call libido, which is it's a energy to sustain, the energy to live. Okay, it's energy. So libido will produce in that process actually the process of this conflict with the ego superego. And if you go to a humanistic approach, this is a psychoanalytic approach. So there is this conflict concept. The concept of conflict is there. And if you are going to if you are going to humanistic approach, there we can see the ideal self and real self. So there will be an ideal self that the person created based on their fantasies and everything, and there will be the real self that the person is exercising and executing every day in their life. So these two people will have a constant conflict in their life. So this conflict is there. So what Carl Rogers, we can say Carl Rogers, like person who came up with person-centered therapy, Rogerian therapy. So he said like the conflict is the basic uh, process of growth. If there is no conflict, there is no problem, then that means there is no growth. It is in a dead state. So whether it is within a person or between two person or more than two person, conflict is not bad or good. It's a natural process. It when it is bad or when it is become good, it's based on the person who deal with that conflict. Okay. So the healthy or unhealthy or functional or dysfunctional or good, bad, these things are based on how the person is dealing. So again, it's not fall under the responsibility of the person, because this person also have to deal these conflicts by their learning through their family or through their education or through their social experiences, through their cultural processes and everything. So again, we don't find any point to pinpoint a cause because it's all connected to each other. We have to start somewhere. That is some other idea. So whether it is intrapsychic or interpsychic, or like whether it is intrapersonal or whether it is interpersonal, conflicts means growth, or conflict means momentum. So we can make it either progressive or regressive. It's up to us. If there is a conflict, that means opportunity. If there is a growth, that means there is some kind of momentum is happening between them. So there is some kind of change should happen that within that pattern. So that change can lead to a progress or it can lead to a regression, regressive as consequences. But how it is determined is based on how the person or the people who are involved in the resolution of the conflict. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm having little cough and that's what is. So in between, I may mute. So I'm here. Okay. So so we discussed what is interpersonal conflict and how it happens and what are the factors that can be lead to conflicts and everything. So now we are looking into how we can resolve interpersonal conflict. So it is not a natural process. Okay. It's something we call intervention. It's a artificial process. It's man-made, basically. There can be natural resolution, but that we can't know and we don't have to study about it because it's not in our control. But because we are not just an animal, we are a social animal, we have to socialize. We have to continue the socialization process. So we have to find a way to resolute or find a resolution for these conflicts, or all kind of conflicts. So humans have developed certain interventions to resolve these conflicts. So those humans, we call those humans psychologists or social science scientists. It can be a psychologist or a philosopher or a sociologist, or human it can be. So those people are social scientists. So these conflict resolution management or tactics are scientifically proven, verified intervention method. It is not from anyone's personal experience. Yeah, it is took from a lot of people's personal experience, and then we studied in a scientific way, which won't have any kind of subjective interpretation of any kind, like proper. So a person who are involved, a psychologist who are involved in the resolution of interpersonal conflict, are strictly prohibited from expressing any of their personal attitudes, values, interests, opinion, whatever it is, because that the other person is not seeking from you. Okay, the other person is seeking help from the psychologist in you. So you have to be a psychologist at that. So these methods are the certain tactics that is given by this discipline to use in such situations. So the first method that we have to always use, you can say this is the first method, that is active listening. Okay, so active listening, it's a big process. Don't take it as a simple dictionary term. There is basic difference between hearing and listening, and there is basic difference between listening and active listening. Okay, there's a huge difference between all these things: hearing, listening, and active listening. So you should know this difference. Hearing is a biological process. You don't have to do anything. Your ear or your brain will do it automatically. But when I'm taking this class, there are a lot of other sounds also happening that you can hear, that is hearing. But you are only paying attention to a particular voice, that is to mine, if you are giving. It is, if you are giving to my voice, or if you are giving particularly giving to attention to any other voice other than mine, again, that is listening. Okay. So focused hearing, we can say, or attention, like hearing, like a focus or intentional hearing, we can say it, listening. And then there comes active listening. Active listening involves paying attention to what the other person is saying and trying to understand their perspectives. Okay, here is the active listening part. We will try to understand their perspective, regardless of whatever it is. There won't be any judgment. There won't be any stereotypical, prejudiced attitudes, nothing. Neutral, zero emotion, nothing. Neutral. Yeah, we can express our reaction, not our natural reactions. Again, our reactions are also strictly restricted. There is certain protocols and ethics for how to express our emotions when in active listening that you may learn in counseling and therapy. So active listening is there, and we try to understand their perspectives when we listen. So that actually help to encourage a space for open communication and a process of catharsis. And another one is empathy. So empathy is not understanding. Okay, understanding is a cognitive process, basically, that we all have naturally. Empathy is an active process that it comes with emotional aspects, basically. So it's like we usually say, it's like putting into others' shoe, basically. So it's literally mean that if you try to put your foot into another person's shoe, what it feels,
Excuse me, sir. I have a question, sir.
you will get a feeling, right? Some kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, yes,
Hello,
yes, yes.
sir. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure, sure.
You said that see,
Yes, yes, sure, sure. You can ask.
psychologist should not have his own opinions, or any opinions is living style or something like that. But when it is coming to active
Mhm.
listening, you are saying that he should have empathy. Empathy also comes from a belief, religion, region,
Hello.
understanding, and studying.
Uh,
Sir.
Sorry, I actually didn't get your question. There was some issue with your voice. Can you repeat it once again?
Sir, you said
Yeah.
that as a psychologist, when we
Yeah.
are about to in resolving a conflict,
Huh.
we should not have our own views, you said.
Yeah.
When we don't
Yes.
have our own views,
Uh-huh.
from where does empathy comes
Yeah,
in
that is the
resolving
difference
the
between
conflict?
sympathy. Yeah, yeah, that is the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy comes from the association of uh or comparison of something. That is where our emotional aspects, our personal aspects come. Sympathy we feel. Yeah, we feel sympathy because we are humans. We feel sympathy. Even a psychologist feels sympathy. But a human can feel sympathy. A psychologist can feel sympathy. A human can express sympathy, but a psychologist can only express empathy, not sympathy. Sympathy we feel, definitely we feel to the person. That is the personal feeling of ours. It is not restricted. So it is, see, it is not like you are not allowed to do anything. Basically, it is the primary and ultimate aim is the well-being of the other person, basically. So the psychologists have to be go through whatever the training they have to go through to deal with such kind of issues. We are not able to, even if we are getting training, but because of, we don't know, some aspects. Like I took a clinical psychology in my master's, but I didn't go for clinical psychology, MPhil or something. I went for research because in the time that I was doing my uh, clinical psychology course, I understood that, yeah, I am understanding the concepts, I'm understanding the theories and everything. I am able to apply it also. But when I am in that real process, I am not able to control my emotions or something. So it's not a problem of mine. Okay, I can use that that aspects of mine in other areas actually, not in a practicing setting. That's it. So I identified like in a clinical settings when it comes to become an emotional aspects, I am unable to deal with that. So like I choose to come to research. So research, I need that actually because I am studying them. I'm not going to correct them. So I have to know what they feel. Well, I also want to experience that we call ethnography. We call ethnographic study, participatory research or participatory action research. We call all those things. So for that we need that. So I'm using a particular psychological process of mine, which is not effective or good in a clinical settings, but highly effective or really good in a research setting. So that's the thing basically. So we have the knowledge, but as a person, we are also human beings. So even we learn psychology, we are get trained in psychology. We have our own vulnerabilities. We have our own things. If we can work on it, fine, good. We can work on it and we can overcome that, fine. If we can't and you don't want to push yourself too much and you can work it like work that particular thing in some other area, yeah, that's also good. So that's the basic thing. So it's not a restrictor basically. Basically, like in that context, this is what this is the intention basically. So in a clinical settings or a counseling setting, basically in interpersonal conflict settings, basically the person who is facilitating the conflict resolution should have a certain personal qualities also, or they should foster those qualities in their training time. That's the thing. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So that's the empathy part. And another one resolution process is negotiation. So negotiation basically is a kind of a diplomatic process. So here we use a particular process called brainstorming. Okay. So brainstorming is a is a method or a brain exercise that used in cognitive psychology mostly to break down certain mental set or mental fixations. So we can use it in any context also. For example, we ask people like, so there is pen. Okay. So pen we use for writing. So that is the primary purpose of pen. So instead of writing, what are the other purpose a pen can serve? So you are not allowed to say we can use writing. We can use pen for writing purpose. No. Except writing purpose, what other purposes that pen that like we do? So there are many contexts that we use pen other than writing as a paperweight or a bookmark or like many things, weird. So like that, we give certain situations and we do this brainstorming process, this interpersonal conflict negotiation. So in that negotiation process, when we do brainstorming, they will be able to come up with multiple alternatives by themselves. That is one negotiation. And another one is compromise. So compromise is not the compromise that we understood. Uh, okay. I have something to ask. So actually, when I was explaining, I ran out of time. So it's almost, I have 8 more minutes only. And I have a little bit more to take. So what should I do? Shall I continue this discussion and take the remaining part tomorrow? Really sorry, actually. There is some other part that we have to cover also, like prejudice and discrimination. And yeah, prejudice, what is prejudice, what is discrimination, and then aggression, what is aggression, types of kind of aggression. About these two parts we have to cover. So we can we cover it in next class and can we
Yeah, sir,
continue
we
this
will do it
discussion?
next class, sir.
Oh, is that fine?
Yeah, it's fine, sir. Fine for me.
Yeah,
I think
like I'm
it's for
asking everyone.
others.
Yeah, I'm asking everyone actually.
Yeah.
You can put message
sir,
also in the group.
Tomorrow, sir. Tomorrow.
So at least give me 10 responses so I can put in chat box. So it'll be fine. Because this interpersonal conflict is such an interesting area that we won't be stop talking.
Sir, it would be easy for us. I mean, we would be happy if you share us some notes on this subject, sir.
Yes,
I mean,
definitely. I will be sharing. I will be sharing notes on all the topics that I'm taking. So you don't
Yes.
have to worry. So tomorrow is fine, right? Okay. Yeah. We will continue the discussion on interpersonal conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So another important aspects. The next topic, the next process or strategy that we can use in if conflict resolution is compromise. So compromise is not the dictionary term or dictionary meaning compromise. Compromise it's a huge psychological process. It demands huge psychological process. Compromise basically means it's like a finding a middle ground kind of finding a middle ground that partially satisfies the needs of all parties basically. So this may involve giving up some of your like sacrifices, and and sometimes we have to accommodate certain things that we don't want. It's not like we don't want it, it won't hurt, it won't harm us, so it is fine to accommodate kind of things. So compromise, so compromise, we in layman term we use adjustments. I adjusted a lot, we adjusted a lot, so that is what they mean. Actually it is compromise, but the problem here it is they compromised without communicating. That was the problem. So they don't know what. So the each person is compromising. They are compromising a lot. They are sacrificing. They are sacrificing a lot. They are adopting new things for the sake of the relationship or their partner, but they are not communicating each other. They are compromising. So when when there are time that saturation point reach and that explosion happens, that conflict happens, and they will put all their accountabilities that I did that, I did this, I did that, I did this, but no use because you people didn't communicate each other. So they don't know that you did that. So your all effort, can't say it all went in vain, but you feel like that. That the people feel like that actually. So if there is any kind of compromise is happening, or like if anything is happening in a interpersonal relationship, it can be a friendship, it can be a married or a partnership or an employment or whatever it is. In that context, always in that context. Okay. Okay. For example, that in this context, it's a learning context. For example, if after this class you may go to your work or family, so it is another context. So again, you have to think what that context demands. That's also important. So compromise is another thing, which is there will be a lot of sacrifices that we have to remove some of our needs and things, but it's not a big issue. Something like not smoking. The partner is asking not to smoke, or your friend is asking not to smoke, or your employer is asking not to smoke, at least in the time of your job. So it's a kind of sacrifice for the smoker, yeah. But it's that sacrifice, that's a compromise actually. There's an understanding and the compromise happened, so the conflict will be resolved. Okay. But if there is that compromise is not happen properly, then it won't happen. Then another process of another strategy is mediation. So mediation involves using a neutral third party to communication, and like, so here the mediation, uh, sometimes it can be a professional like a psychologist or a counselor or a family counselor, a social worker, whoever uh, is expert in that particular area. Okay. If it is something based on political, then a political analyst or whatever. Or if it is based on some economical issue or something, then someone who is an expert in that particular area. Whatever that conflict exists, that particular domain. So there will be a professional side which relate to that context, and there will be unprofessional. Unprofessional doesn't mean unhealthy. Okay. So unprofessional means they are not trained. That's it. But they have experience. So some of those people also can do a mediation that we usually take as a elder people in our family to deal some of the family conflicts, because they are not trained mental health professionals or they are not trained family therapists, but they have experience. So some people can use those experience wisely. So we will take those people. And there are some people who can make it worse also. So be aware about that. So experience is not always good place to ask advice, but professional is always a good place to ask. So that is one thing with mediation. And then there is a hardest part called apology. Okay. So apologizing can be a powerful way to resolve conflicts, basically. But I don't know how much people do it and how much people can do it. But literally, it is the best way to deal with the conflict resolution. Okay. Apology. Sometimes apologizing can be do constructive conflict resolution. For example, if we make some mistake to a child and you're literally making an apology to the child, then it will have a huge impact on the child. So sometimes apologies will make a huge impact, and there are times that apologies can make harms. That when there is an abusive relationship and the person is abusing, and the other person is apologizing and apologizing, the problem. So it's very important where we are using the apology. Apologizing is a very powerful tool that can lead to constructive or destructive conflict resolution. And another aspect or another strategy is escalation. So in very rare cases, conflicts may escalate and require outside intervention or legal action. Okay, that is what escalation means. If conflicts becomes violent, extreme, abusive, we have to seek help from trained professional or authority figure. So for example, if it is a family matter, so there is it's a scenario, it's an example. It's a family matter, and the issue is like what the wife is not making breakfast or not making dinner every day. This is the issue. So the people called some the friends or relatives, elderly people, depends on the intensity, and they talk each other and they find some kind of resolution that that woman is a working woman and you are a man, and cooking is a skill that is supposed to learn by everyone. So learn the skill and cook by yourself and eat. That's the one healthy resolution that every professional will take. And there can be a unhealthy decision that people take that give instruction to the women that why don't you cook for your husband? It's fine. Okay. So there are healthy and unhealthy resolutions. So, but there are situations where the context will escalate into an abusive state where the physical or sexual abuse or even can go to verbal abuse. Even verbal abuse is a serious problem, it's a serious accusation. So in certain cases, we need proper justice through the system. We will approach mental health professional, and definitely if there is a physical or sexual abuse happened, and the client, even if it is there is only a verbal abuse happened, and the client want to report it to authority figure and the psychologist or whoever the mental health professional is, are supposed to facilitate that to reach, that make sure that it reached the other, which means that we have to call the police or child helpline if it is a child labor, child trafficking, or child abuse, or whatever. If it is child, we have to call child line. So we have to keep all those child line or helpline, all kind of helpline numbers. We have to keep it with us. Basically, there's always a need for a psychologist, or not only psychologist, social worker, whoever the professional it is. So escalation. So in escalation situation, we need those kind of things, and we need other people to deal with that also. So these are the some of the major uh, 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 healthy conflict resolution strategies that are identified by various social scientists, psychologists, so social psychologists, anyone. Basically, some of these are came with psychologists. Yeah. So these are the interpersonal conflict. So it's 1-4. If there is any doubt or anything, you can have that. Anything related to interpersonal conflict. We have other areas like prejudice and discrimination and aggression that we will cover. Definitely, we will cover that next class. That's tomorrow. Yeah. So open for
Sir,
discussion.
sir,
Any question? Yeah.
one question, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
is this theory is what you told is applicable between group conflicts, means between two
Yeah, sure,
groups?
sure. Yeah, sure, sure.
The
That's what
same
I was
theory
saying. I was always giving an I was always giving a example, but except intrapersonal conflict, any kind of interpersonal conflict, we can use this method. It can be a conflict between a family member, or friends, or partner, or in group settings. Any kind of conflict between two people or more than two people, we can use any of these methods. But we should know how to use it, and we need a training, kind of an experience. Like we should know the intensity and how it is working, and how that conflict dynamics is happening. And based on all those things, we can use all these strategies. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, understood. But if it is suppose it's a query. Suppose it is a
Huh.
conflict between two countries.
Huh.
Now there is a war. Suppose Ukraine
Yeah.
and Russia are
Huh.
fighting, and
Huh.
there is conflict between these two countries. There is a war going on. So can it be said that is it a solution to this problem, group conflict? Can we say that war is also a solution to a group conflict, or it
No.
aggravates the problem in that
Yeah.
sense?
So if you are taking in the context of a war between two countries, yes, definitely there is only one intervention, that is psychological. If you ask me as a psychologist, I will tell you there is only one intervention which is
Exactly.
possible to make war end. Is a psychological
Yes.
intervention, which is a behavioral intervention. But we are seeing that people from all over the world standing against the war. It is because of their behavior. It's every individual's like, I am against war, you are against war. So there are people against war. And when those people comes together, become a voice. It's a big voice. And that can stop many things. That only stopped many things, many wars, many things, our independence, everything. So that is basically based on that behavioral part. If we go to the grassroots level of any kind of revolution, it starts with the thought, isn't it? We will say communism is a thought, basically, or, or feminism is a thought, or any kind of ideologies, or whatever it is, that changed the world and that lead to some kind of change. It's a thought, basically. And that thought become action, and that action become a group of action, then it will become a movement, and then that movement become a revolution. So basically, you can take any kind of things. So basically, I think empathy, if all kind of revolutions start with the effective resolution strategy called empathy. I think all kind of social revolution started with the process of empathy. So yes, through this process we can stop war. Yeah, I believe. Am I clear?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Wonderfully explained, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions? Or you can put it in the chat also. If you have anything, any questions to ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.